fake trailer originally, and I didn't think I'd make a movie. And then people liked the trailer so much because they'd never seen anything like it. A Hispanic action hero, a mexploitation movie. It made so much sense because it was blaxploitation in the 70s. Nobody had ever done mexploitation, and it seemed like such an obvious idea that people started saying, make the movie, you should make the movie. And Danny Trejo especially would call me all the time and say, we gotta make the movie. Because people would come up to him always and say, you should make a movie of Machete, that'll be your biggest movie. So he would call me all the time, we gotta make Machete. For like 3 years, people would say, make the movie. They would say, make another Sin City, and they would say, make Machete. So I finally made Machete, got it out of my system. And at the end, I was watching Machete drive off on the motorcycle with a girl, and it felt like it needed an extra, kick. So I thought, let me put, and when I was mixing the movie, I thought at the last minute, Machete will return in, Machete kills, and Machete kills again. And so I put that on there for fun, just to make it look like it's going to be a big series, but I never thought I would make it, never thought I'd make it. And people would, for 2 more years would say, when are you going to make Machete Kills? And Machete Kills again. So I started thinking, well, I wasn't really interested in making a Machete Kills, but when you do these series, everybody always ends up in space. Even Jason, Voorhees, ended up in space. So wouldn't it be funny if Machete was in space? Because that was always the big complaint among Hispanics, was that there was never any Hispanics in space. In Star Trek, it would be like every other race would be there, but there was no Latins. So no Mexicans in space. That'd be funny to have a Machete in space. So that's somewhere right around there I had the idea. And at Comic-Con one year, they asked if there'd be another Machete. So I said, yeah, Machete's going to kill. He's going to kill again in space. And everyone laughed, thought it was funny. So I thought, gosh, I really want to, people would come up to me and say, I want to see Machete Kills, but I really want to see Machete Kills again in space. So I thought, how can I skip part 2 and go to 3? So, or what if I make part 2, but put a fake trailer for part 3? That way I don't have to make it. I can kind of make it now and have the fun of seeing him in space. So then I thought, let's make a fake trailer, and then near the end of part 2, we'll start taking you into space a little bit so that you know that that's where it's going to go, but you don't even have to see the next movie because you already saw the trailer. So I thought that structure is so weird. No one's ever done that before. The Machete series is very unpredictable. We own the whole idea of trailers because we came up with it, that we can go ahead. It's so hard to remember a time I wasn't working with Danny. He was one of the first actors I worked with because I only made one other movie before that called Road Racers with real actors. Salma was in that. And then our next movie was Desperado, and Danny was in that. So as soon as I made Desperado, I told him, you're going to be Machete someday. I got a character I just made up called Machete. He'd be perfect because people just liked Danny. They would just come around him. I knew he had a magnetism that was very unlikely. You would look at him and think, okay, he's just a bad guy. But people in the town when we were shooting Desperado just surrounded him because they thought, there's a film camera, and this guy, he must be the star. They thought he was the star of the movie, not Antonio. They thought he was. So I thought, wow, there's something to that, Why would they think he's the star? He must have a magnetism. He'd be perfect as Machete because it shouldn't be like a pretty boy. Machete should be like Conan, like the Frazetta's Conan, scarred face and scarred arms, and he should look like he's of the earth. So Machete, as crazy as the movies are, Danny plays it very straight. Machete's very straight. He doesn't really goof around. He's the real normal one. Everyone else is wacky, but he's very solid. Puts in a very subtle performance a lot of times. Get someone else. He's like Charles Bronson. And Danny would be like the Mexican Charles Bronson.